paying people to review your stuff is one thing, but paying for a positive review, you don't do that.
It seems everyone has that one game or franchise that they love but no one else seems to give a shit about. The Trees Apprentice has Lock's Quest, the Kitsune Hawk has Hyperdimension Neptunia, Sea Murcielago has Spectropes, Omega Snake has Lollipop Chainsaw, and I have Arcana Heart. For those who don't know, which I'm guessing is most of you, Arcana Heart is a series of fighting games developed by Examu. Some people see this as little more than a fanservice fighter for obvious reasons, and while that is somewhat true, the games themselves are actually good on their own. Sadly, the stigma of fanservice has doomed it to relative obscurity. In fact, it's so obscure that to date, nobody has made a countdown about it. So how about we fix that? Now when it comes to any fighting game, one of the most important aspects is its cast of characters, and Arcana Heart actually has some really great ones. So to celebrate Valentine's Day and give some more love to a franchise that sorely needs it, I'm counting down my top 10 favorite characters in the series. I'm judging these characters by their personality, their playstyle, and their default arcana. And one more thing. Leave your stupid tier lists out of this! I am not a competitive player, and I don't want people telling me whom I should be playing as. Oh, and as an added bonus, all the footage from Arcana Heart 3 in this video comes courtesy of yours truly. Anyways, it's game time! If Mega's XLR taught us anything, it's that chicks dig giant robots. Not only does Catherine Kyobashi further prove this point, she actually pilots one of her own. Catherine was introduced in Arcana Heart 2, which was never localized due mostly to the first game's low sales in America, as well as alleged issues with the Japanese PS2 port. Now on to Catherine. This girl is a genius, having built her prized mecha, Terry Otogawa, from scratch. But wait, this kinda sounds like Kira, right? Yeah, and in fact, Catherine is a friend and rival to Kira. However, very much unlike Kira, I find Catherine's enthusiasm and directness to be rather likable, and in all honesty, she seems to be one of the few people who can actually keep Kira in line. Catherine's Yodogawa is the crux of her playstyle, capable of launching missiles, spinning like a top, launching a mini Yodogawa, short-lived hovering, and generally throwing its considerable weight around. This mech is surprisingly mobile, something I would not expect from such a huge machine. However, having such a huge mecha makes Catherine a huge target, meaning if you give your opponent the chance, you could be comboed easily. Also, I think she's been taking lessons from our friend over at Sector 7, because first off, her critical heart is a grab that slams the enemy into the wall for massive damage. Second, there's her Arcana, Median, the Arcana of Magnetism, which takes the form of a turtle and helps Catherine with her research. Median can pull the opponent close, increase your falling speed, launch speedy homing shots, create electromagnetic fields, and throw trash for some reason. Its Arcana Blaze draws both people towards the middle of the screen and creates many homing shots. It's satisfying when it works, but like all such moves, it's risky. In this case, because you might not want your opponent to be so close to you. Truth be told, I find Median to be one of the more average Arcana in the game, and in my opinion, you're better off using another. Still, Catherine is a fun character, and while I do like the other 9 characters on the list more, I always enjoy seeing her give Kira a well-deserved beating. I don't like Kira is what I'm getting at. When Arcana Heart 3 was released on PSN, American fans were introduced to 12 new characters. What some of those fans might not know is that only 3 were actually new to the game. The first of them on this list is the series' newest protagonist, Vice. Vice is a Valkyria, an artificial maiden created by the Drexler Institute, the game's antagonist organization, but was taken into custody by Petra and her allies when they raided its branch in Japan. As such, she is extremely disciplined, but she knows nothing of the outside world. This leads to some admittedly humorous conversations. However, what she lacks in social graces, she more than makes up for in her fighting ability. Vice is primarily a rushdown character, relying primarily on her ability to materialize a wide assortment of blades. She can perform sweeps, anti-air, diving moves, traps, heck, she can even equip a blade on her arm to buff her moves even further. However, while she can do a lot of damage in close, she can't do quite as much from a distance on her own. Also, her critical heart can only be done with her blade equipped, but damn! And then we get to her Arcana, which was also artificially created. Gottfrid is a sword-based Geist based on the Norse god Tyr. Norse mythology for the win! Gottfrid has a special ability which buffs your Arcana-related stats every time you activate Extend Force, meaning you'll be using it as much as possible. Its special moves are also powerful, but as a cost they suffer from high startup times. Also, one of its super moves can damage you, essentially creating a cage match. Lastly, its Arcana Blaze, while powerful and air unblockable, is easily blocked on the ground. Still, Vice is a solid protagonist and well worth her place on this list. Now, if only she wasn't so awkward in public. Another newcomer? Sure, why not? Echo may look and act like your typical kindergartner, but trust me, there is a lot more to her than meets the eye. She has the power to bring motion to the motionless, a power she primarily uses to bring drawings to life. Her favorite is her so-called brother, whom she calls Kazu. Because of her power, she was captured by the Institute at a very young age, but is now under Petra's protection. Like that's gonna stop a little girl with curiosity for miles. Kazu is actually pretty interesting himself. Despite being a drawing brought to life, he's actually very kind and polite, not to mention protective of cute widow Echo. In all honesty, I find the dynamic between the two to be rather adorable and actually quite humorous at times. Echo's playstyle is unique, and in a way, rather freaky. In battle, Kazu does most of the fighting, morphing into various forms, even though Echo herself can contribute with various drawings. Those aren't as effective. Then there's their critical heart, which can only be activated in a pinch and sees Kazu grow to ridiculous size, kind of like when Annie summons Tibbers in League of Legends. Wait, little girls, enchanted companions, ultimates that make said companions grow. Are we sure Echo isn't secretly a Runeterran sent to Earth? As far as her Arcana goes, Salagrama, the Arcana of Luck, is a dice spirit, and while it is based on luck, I've seen worst instances. Dokapon Kingdom. Salagrama provides buffs that kick in at random, some of which come in very handy, and you can actually boost the chances of them happening. It also lets you throw dice bombs that were probably borrowed from Numberman from Battle Network. And God help your opponent if you nail a 6 with its Arcana Blaze. Overall, Echo is both adorable and at the same time a big Whiskey Tango foxtrot that's fun to play as. But I dread to think of what she'll be like when she grows up. Fiona Mayfield wields a sword that's bigger than she is.
I'm sorry, but I can't help but laugh seeing a young maid with a sword that big. I mean, take a look at her animation. She clearly has trouble dragging that thing around. And that's not even counting her armored gloves and boots. Come on, I can't be the only one who finds that hilarious.
Okay, all joking aside, Fiona is actually an interesting character. That huge sword of hers gives her redonkulous power and range, even to the point where some consider her broken. But it comes at the cost of low speed and less combo potential than others. Think Nightmare from Soul Calibur, only as a little maid girl with a more traditional sword. Many of her moves have slow startup speed, but getting hit by them will take down your health bar by quite a significant chunk. Basically, this means that you'll need to be defensive against her and be ready to punish her at the first opportunity. As far as her critical heart goes, the timing of the final strike is extremely precise, meaning a split second spells the difference between a certain KO and a waste of Arcana gauge. For Arcana, Orichalcos, the Arcana of Metal, is a strange case. When using Orichalcos, you don't gain Arcana gauge normally. Instead, you charge it by holding back in the Arcana button. This requires more strategy, as you need to know when it's safe to charge. Orichalcos also allows you to summon swords to attack, which unfortunately have long startup time, create shields to block enemies, boost your attack and defense, and its Arcana Blaze, well...
And the truck door comes in the night!
But what really interests me is Fiona's backstory. As it turns out, 2 years prior to the first game's events, Fiona was caught in a planar rift, ending up trapped in the spiritual plane and becoming a higher order being as a result. Her motivation throughout the series, however, has been to become a human again, mainly so she can be with the friend she was torn away from, who will come up later. In conclusion, Fiona is one maid who won't hesitate to clean your clock given the opportunity. Still, I have to reiterate. How in the holy mother of Palutena does she swing that sword around? If you have a high-spirited hero, he or she is usually accompanied by a friend or ally who fits the role of the stoic, which describes Saki pretty well. Yeah, she may seem like the quiet type, but threaten her or her friends and she will quite literally kick your ass. Being Heart's childhood friend, Saki functions as the series' rival character. However, in her playstyle, she's more like Guile than Ken. By that I mean her myriad of kick-based specials are charged-based moves. This means you need to be thinking ahead in order to work them into combos. However, the variety in these moves means she can do pretty well both in the air and on the ground in spite of a need to get in close. Also, her roll can come in pretty handy if you need to be evasive. Probably the toughest part about using Saki is pulling off her critical heart. Burning the sequence into your brain is one thing, but the timing's another can of worms completely. Now remember what I said about how Saki wants to protect her friends? Yeah, that relates back to Fiona's backstory. As it turns out, Saki was an exchange student in England at the time, and was caught in that same planar rift. She was only saved thanks to her Arcana Bonri. Naturally, Saki has been racked with guilt ever since, and might have lost it completely were it not for Heart. Man, this girl's had it rough. Oh yeah, her Arcana. Bonri, the Arcana of Lightning, focuses mainly on zoning and clashing. With this Arcana, you can call down the thunder to keep your opponents at bay, and you have access to an Arcana Blaze that can ground bounce the opponent if it actually hits. However, most people who use Bonri use her for her passives and extend force attributes. The former add clash to your charged E and forward step. However, her extend force abilities add clash to everything. Everything! This can really help you turn the tide. To sum this up, Saki may be the stoic, but that won't stop her from knocking you flat on your back. Also, Death Battle. Saki versus Chie. Make it happen, Screw Attack! If I were to describe Lilica in one word, it would be fun. She can be tricky to play as, but I certainly have a blast trying. Then again, what would you expect from a free-spirited half-demon chick on roller skates? Lilica is one of those characters who just likes to have fun and keep herself from getting bored. Normally, characters like this can be seen as annoying, but in this case, I find it more likable than irritating. Also, she's a bit of a prankster, though for her, it's all in good fun. In battle, Lilica is the fragile speedster of the roster. Given the fact that she wears rollerblades, it should come as no surprise that she's one of, if not the fastest character in the series. Also, many of her moves can be chained together, making for an insane aerial game. However, to balance this out, her defenses leave something to be desired, and her ground game is kind of crap. The key to Lilica is to be playfully annoying. The constant move chains means you'll be zipping about the arena to land a combo and then get out of dodge to avoid punishment. She's like a female scout with rollerblades instead of a gun. Tempestus, the Arcana of Wind, further supports Lilica's air game. For one thing, Tempestus gives you an extra action in the air so you can either triple jump or double air dash. Not only that, but some of the special moves it gives you can blow the enemy skyward, including its Arcana Blaze, which has almost no startup time. On the other hand, choosing Tempestus as your Arcana leaves you with both less attack and defense than others, meaning that mobility becomes your best option. Of course, for Lilica, mobility is no problem. Bottom line, Lilica may be tough to use, but with how much fun she is, I enjoy every moment playing as her anyway. Charlocrot is one twisted bitch. No, I'm not kidding, this lady makes Jory from Super Street Fighter 4 look tame. Charlocrot is a total psychopath both in her playstyle and her attitude. But hey, blame that on the Drexler Institute. Charlocrot is, like Vice, a Valkyria created by the Institute. However, unlike Vice, to whom Charlocrot refers to by her real name of Sophie, the Institute's insidious brainwashing still has a hold on her even after its collapse. Her conversations indicate that she's even aware of her own insanity. You would think that with a character so crazy, you'd want to be careful around her. Well, no shit, Edgeworth! Charlocrot's biggest advantages are her range and her mobility. Both of these revolve around her ability to produce chains from out of nowhere. She can also set up anchor points for said chains and send explosive charges along the chains or swing around like she's friggin' Spider-Man. Trust me, you don't want to get anywhere close to her or those anchor points, especially if she tries to pull her critical heart. On the flip side, her combo potential is lacking at long range, and she has the absolute weakest defenses in the entire game. But good luck getting close to her in the first place, especially if she uses her given Arcana, Balder. Like Vice and her Gottfrid, Balder is a Geist based on a figure from Norse mythology, in this case, Fenrir. Also, while Gottfrid relies on swords, Balder literally brings out the big guns. With this Arcana, you have access to forward guns, anti-aircraft guns, and a cannon that breaks your guard and sends you flying across the screen. Because, you know, bitches love cannons. Then there's its Arcana Blaze, which, well, if you're caught not blocking, there's a good chance you won't be surviving much longer, especially if you're in the air. One last thing. Unless you're playing as Charlocrot in story mode, you'll be facing this nutcase as the game's sub-boss. And when you're one round away from beating her, she'll go into permanent extend force mode. Seriously, Charlocrot may be fun to play as, but between causing her insanity, kidnapping Echo, and creating the Divine Celestial Weapon, fuck the Institute! Finally, we reach the top 3, and I figure it's time to talk about the Millennial Guardian, Kamui Tokinomiya. A fan favorite among what few fans there are anyway, this lady's handling of time would make even the Doctor proud. Her sword is also pretty strange. It's an energy katana that cuts through a person's soul instead of their flesh. That's a pretty frightening thought. Kamui is a defender of humanity who is kept suspended in time, being awakened only when the world needs her. It's actually kind of depressing if you think about it. I mean, she's never had the chance to lead a normal life. When I think of it that way, I actually kind of feel sorry for her. Until I see her fighting style. In battle, Kamui is a very technical fighter. She has several moves that serve a variety of purposes, including projectiles of her own, a Russian attack, and her infamous multiple slash attack. However, she can power up her moves at the cost of a small amount of life. Some of said moves even take on other properties. She also has some nice counters, though they're tricky to pull off due to the fact that you need to anticipate the height of your opponent's attack, aside from requiring a Dragon Punch command. Her normal moves actually have some decent reach as well, and her air game is something to be feared. The main drawback is that Kamui is relatively slow without her homing. As for her Arcana, Anutpada is the Arcana of Time, taking the form of a clock-like machine. Like Kamui herself, Anutpada is based on technique. Selecting Anutpada gives you access to some unique abilities, such as creating after-images, time-delayed after-image attacks and projectiles, a forward teleport, and a super that paralyzes your opponent. Also, her Arcana Blaze takes 3 seconds to kick in and can be easily interrupted, but... this move stops time for a full 8 seconds, which is an eternity in a fighting game. If you're caught by this, even in the air, you'll be grateful for damage scaling if you even survive. To sum this up, Kamui is a good character for people starting out, but mastering her abilities makes you a force to be feared. One last thing, hey you. Time's up! The additions made to the cast in Arcana Heart 2, while not quite as good overall as 1 or 3, were still pretty solid. However, the one who stood out the most to me, at least in 3, is the runner-up on my list, Petra Johanna Lagerqvist. Or as I like to call her, eat your heart out, Noelle Vermillion. The elegance and sophistication Petra brings to the battlefield, combined with a sweet pair of ether pistols, says I'm gonna kick your ass and look good doing it. Petra is the latest and strongest in an illustrious line of maidens, and is supremely confident in her lineage and abilities. She also has a strong sense of justice, and in fact, she and her allies led the raid on the Drexler Institute's Japanese branch. In battle, Petra is a character you can't afford to take lightly, mainly because of how versatile she is. Her guns provide a lot of long-range options, from anti-air to zoning, though unlike Noelle, you actually have to recharge your ammo, so it balances out. In close range, she has some effective combos, as well as a command dodge for defense. Her normal critical heart isn't that showy, but its extended form... just... wow. Lastly, her Arcana Zerael, the Arcana of the Holy, takes the form of an alicorn. Make of that what you will. He gives you access to a decent zoning projectile, a solid short-range attack with good startup, and a move that temporarily buffs your attack and defense. Also, his Arcana Blaze has good range and startup. But the real flaw with this Arcana is that he reduces your max health, and his passive doesn't work as advertised. It stores damage you take and is supposed to restore an eighth of that damage when Extend Force is activated, but only seems to restore a single hit's worth. My guess is that it's a mistake that either no one caught or there wasn't enough time to fix. Either way, it's not an ability worth counting on. Still, Petra isn't the type to let anything stand in her way. And that's why she's awesome. For those of you who watch my videos closely, you can tell that A, I'm a sucker for all things cute, and B, I have a thing for poster characters. From these two facts about me, it should come as no surprise that my favorite character in the Arcana Heart series is in fact Heart Aino. Now, I don't have any deep or meaningful reasons for loving this character, unlike other countdown artists and their favorite characters from a given franchise. Nevertheless, Heart is a character that makes me smile so much, and know the fact that she's so freaking adorable is not the only reason. Although, let's face it, that's part of the reason. Let's start with her playstyle. Heart is a very balanced character, making her a great character to use both for those new to the series and veterans alike. As the poster character of the series and best friend and rival of the previously mentioned Saki, who uses mainly kicks, most of Heart's moves are punch attacks. Also, despite the fact that her special moves use the classic quarter circle motions, She is by no means a typical Shoto clone, because, you know, everyone loves those. She has moves that can get in close, as well as some anti-air moves to put pressure on the opponent. Her critical heart can also break the opponent's guard, guaranteeing a hit with its extended version. This, however, is balanced out by her lack of inherent projectiles, or for that matter, a ranged game to speak of. Then there's her Arcana, Bartinius, the Arcana of, what else, love. Bartinius, who takes the form of a Radiant Angel, is, like Heart herself, very well balanced. With her help, you can reflect projectiles with charged E attacks, slow your falling speed, and cancel special attacks into Arcana attacks during Extend Force. As for set attacks, you've got homing shots for zoning, the Love Laser for long-range sniping, and for your Arcana Blaze, an air-unblockable Spirit Bomb. No, seriously, it's a fucking Spirit Bomb. As for Heart's personality, I just find it really endearing. Despite the fact that she's the token idiot hero, I find her unbridled energy and innocence more adorable than annoying. More than that, however, Heart is the kind of character that believes that love literally conquers all, an attribute that's reflected in everything about her, right down to her appearance. This is also expressed in her interactions with other characters. She'd rather make friends than fight, and she expresses true concern for her friends, always wanting to help, even if it's just to provide a shoulder to cry on. She genuinely seems like the kind of person who'd make a great friend. God, what more can I say? I love her appearance, I love her personality, and I love how she plays. Everything about Heart just radiates love like a beacon of warm light. If that's what Examu was going for when they made Heart Aino, they certainly nailed it.
I'm the quarter guy, and I can't be the only one who thinks this lady seriously needs a boyfriend.